What's going on, guys? Darren Fry here, and I decided to make a video on something that's been on my mind for a long time. And I actually searched YouTube to see if there's really anything about this, and I didn't like dig into it, but I did look around and I didn't see anything. So I was like, okay, well, um, I am okay. So I'm bipolar. I have bipolar depression, anxiety, and PTSD. And I've been trying therapists for about since I was a teenager, off and on. And a big problem that I have with therapists, that I'm sure a lot of people have with therapists, especially the ones that are covered under Medicare, Medicaid, the lower level therapists, not the kind that charge hundreds of dollars for an hour. Um, these lower level therapists just really give off the impression that they just don't care about their patients. They see us more as a number or a paycheck than they do as somebody they legitimately want to help. Look at the Aurora, Colorado movie theater shooter, James Holmes. He went to a therapist. He told the therapist what he was wanting to do, but because the therapist just wasn't listening, wasn't paying attention, look what happened. He tried to get help. I mean, he told the therapist. So that right there in itself says that he wanted help. Because if he just wanted to kill everybody, you know, he wouldn't have told anybody. He would have just done it. And I grew up in a little town in Virginia called Grundy, and in Grundy there is a law school, the Appalachian School of Law. And back in 2002, maybe, there was a shooting there where a student from another country, I think his name was like Peter Rodigizuwa or something weird like that, he got kicked out of school, so he came back, he killed the dean, a professor, and he wounded another student. But he was also seeing a doctor. He was seeing a primary care doctor, but this doctor was being his therapist as well, because in that town, there wasn't many doctors. It's just some little small town where if you blink when you're passing through it, you'll miss it. But I've had a lot of bad experiences with therapists myself. I had one who was seeing me for about 3 months, and then one day just kept calling me Donald, and I'd be like, my name's Darren. I kept correcting her, and this went on. She did this probably like 5 or 6 times, and finally I stood up. I'm like, okay, you know what? This is something that's serious to me. I'm telling you personal things about my life that I can't share with anybody. And at the time, when this happened, I was actually having some suicidal thoughts. And I told her, that if that's the extent of it, that she can't even make the effort to remember her patient's name, then she shouldn't be in the profession, period. And I just walked out. And since I moved to Las Vegas, where I currently live, I was seeing a therapist. I gave her I went to her twice. And I told her to begin with, the biggest problem I had that I was had trouble trying to let go of, was my 11-year relationship, which ended horribly. And I did try to kill myself over that, and I told her that. And her answer to that was for me to just go out and find somebody else, as if it's that easy. And I even told her, right now I need to work on me. I need to work on figuring out who I am, who I want to be, what I want to do, and the last thing I really need is a relationship. I just need to figure out ways to cope with things like this. And then her answer to that was, well, just time, or just go get with somebody else. And she would just kind of sit there and stare at me the whole time, knowing that she was just killing time, staring at me and not having to say anything. Therapists are supposed to give you advice, help you try to open some doors in your mind, and she wasn't doing that. She was just sitting there, and I couldn't do it because I couldn't do it anymore. Because, we go to these people who are, it's usually our last, the last place we turn, because we go out of desperation. We feel like, okay, this is it. This is the last straw. And then when we are made to feel like the therapists don't give a shit about us, they don't want to help us other than collect their check, get our money out of us. That's the only way they want to help us, which that's not help. But people are killing themselves. And it's not like they're not asking for help. They are. But nobody wants to listen. People who are like us, that have depression, have suicidal thoughts and tendencies, or even the people who have homicidal tendencies, they get ignored. And then when they kill people or themselves or whatever, everybody's like, oh, well, why couldn't they just reach out for help? As if they didn't. And it's sad. It's like that profession, that field is enabling people to display their horrendous behaviors. Because if somebody who's feeling like they just want to die, they want to end it all, go to somebody who is supposed to be a professionally trained healthcare professional for help to save their life, which is what they took an oath to do, and they get nothing out of it. They often feel like, well, obviously I wasn't meant to live, or obviously I wasn't meant to be helped the way I want to, and this is it. This is life. I'm either going to have to just deal with it the way it is, or just end the suffering. And unfortunately, a lot of times people choose to take that way out, to kill themselves or kill someone else. And the sad thing is, a lot of it, not all of it obviously, but a lot of it could be prevented if these people who took oaths to save lives could actually do their fucking jobs. That nobody can help anything until they start helping themselves and doing what it is they say they're going to do, or whatever. It's the world and the human race, society, everything, none of it's going to change unless people actually make it change. That's what change comes from. People, ideas, cooperation, understanding, compassion, love. We have none of that hardly left at all in this world. And when we do find it, we have to search far and wide for something that common sense says is the way things should be. If these people aren't going to try to save lives, talk to people, or even listen and make them feel like they are genuinely listening, then why are they even allowed to practice their field? Why can't people stand up and realize and see what they're doing and put a stop to it? Yeah, everybody, why didn't they ask for help? They did ask for help. It's more like, why didn't they help them? How come nobody ever asks that? You never hear anybody say, how come the therapist or whoever they turned to didn't help? It's always, why didn't they reach out for help? Not everybody is strong. There's a lot of weak people in this world because so many others around them make them weak, when all they do is ask for help. And I know people have to find their own happiness, but when somebody is a therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, They are taking it upon themselves to be that help when people need it. It's a shame that we are killing our own people, not directly, but indirectly. And it's never going to stop until people open their eyes and make it stop. The world doesn't just hand you what you want. You have to actually reach out for it and fight for it sometimes. Think about that. Good night, guys.